Welcome to a space where your thoughts begin to transform into reality and your inner world becomes your greatest power. If you're ready to go deeper into mastering your mind and emotions, consider becoming a member of my channel Mind Clarity, where we unlock the true potential of awareness, feeling, and conscious creation together. What if the life you're waiting for isn't held back by circumstances, but by where your attention quietly rests every single day? What if the difference between who you are and who you want to be is not time, luck, or talent, but the feeling you repeatedly return to within yourself? Right now, in this very moment, your mind is either building your future or repeating your past. And the truth is, the power to change everything has never been outside you. It has always been in what you choose to feel, believe, and focus on. Understanding something on an intellectual level is not the same as truly knowing it on a deeper spiritual level. Real understanding only happens through experience, and that experience begins in your imagination, where you step into it as I am. But it's not enough to just picture it, you have to feel it. Feelings are not just thoughts in your mind. They are sensations that live in your body, something you actually experience within yourself. This idea is simple but powerful. Turn your future desire into something that feels real right now. Whatever you want in life, bring it into the present moment by assuming the feeling of already having it. Your imagination belongs to you, and everything that exists today was once imagined by someone. In the same way, everything that will exist must first be imagined before it becomes real. There's a powerful truth in the idea that success follows those who move boldly toward the life they've envisioned. When you confidently walk in the direction of your dreams and begin to live as if that life is already yours, things start to shift in unexpected ways. Opportunities, results, and outcomes begin to come toward you, often when you least expect it. But it all starts with placing your desire clearly in your imagination and, more importantly, feeling it as real. What you feel yourself to be is what you become. Life doesn't respond to what you wish for in words, it responds to the identity you carry within. If you can assume the feeling of already having what you desire, then that desire must eventually take form in your reality. So instead of waiting for something to happen, you step into the version of yourself who already has it. You live from that state, and over time, it becomes your truth. Every feeling you experience leaves an impression on your subconscious mind. And unless a stronger, opposing feeling replaces it, that impression will eventually express itself in your life. This is why feelings matter more than surface-level thoughts. For example, saying, "I will be healthy," keeps health in the future, but feeling "I am healthy" brings it into the present. It becomes something you embody, not something you chase. True change happens when you feel it in your body. It's not about repeating affirmations like empty words. It's about reaching a point where you genuinely feel strong, capable, and well from within. You don't rely on outside opinions, reports, or circumstances to define your state. Instead, you choose how you feel, and that feeling becomes your reality. It's a deep inner knowing rather than a surface-level statement. Every emotion you experience sends a signal to your subconscious mind, and your subconscious is incredibly powerful. It quietly controls most of your behaviors, reactions, and patterns. Nearly everything you do is influenced by it. Once something is impressed upon it, it begins to shape your life automatically, responding to whatever you've consistently fed into it through your conscious awareness. Think of your conscious mind as the one giving instructions, and your subconscious as the one carrying them out. Whatever you repeatedly feel and believe gets accepted as truth, and then your life begins to reflect it. This is why it's so important to become aware of what you are feeling on a daily basis. When you consistently return to the feeling of already being who you want to be, you begin to reprogram your subconscious. Over time, that feeling becomes natural, and your actions, decisions, and experiences start aligning with it. You are no longer trying to become, you are simply being. And from that state, everything begins to unfold in a way that feels almost effortless. The shift is subtle, but life-changing. Instead of hoping, waiting, or trying, you move into knowing and feeling. You stop looking outside for proof and start generating it from within. And as you do, your external world gradually reshapes itself to match the inner reality you've created. Your conscious mind is the one that gives instructions, but it's your subconscious mind that actually runs the show. Once something is programmed into it, it keeps operating automatically, all the time. Think about your daily routine. You wake up, pick up the remote, change the channel, get dressed, eat, drive to work. Most of it happens without you stopping to think through every step. That's your subconscious at work. It's handling almost everything in the background. But it wasn't always like that. There was a time when you had to consciously learn each of these actions. Over time, repetition turned them into habits, and those habits became part of your subconscious programming. That's exactly how your life is being shaped right now, through patterns that were once learned and are now running automatically. I remember being young, learning something like Morse code. At first it required focus and effort, but after enough repetition, it became automatic. Even decades later, that pattern is still stored in the subconscious. Now, that kind of programming is harmless, but think about the other things you've been repeating to yourself over the years. Statements like, "I can't do this," "I'm not good enough," "I'm not attractive," or "nothing ever works out for me." Those thoughts don't just disappear. They get stored, repeated, and reinforced until they become part of your identity. And then you live your life from that place, often without even realizing it. You start to believe that you're not in control, that you can't move beyond these patterns. But the truth is, your subconscious mind is shaped more by your feelings than anything else. What you consistently feel becomes your reality. If you change how you feel, you change the direction of your life. It's that simple, but also that powerful. A shift in feeling creates a shift in destiny. This is something worth reminding yourself of every single day. Not just thinking it, but actually practicing it. The real work is to begin placing new feelings into your subconscious, feelings that match the life you want to live. Not just thinking about them, but genuinely feeling as if they are already real. This is the core of the law of assumption. When you consistently hold a feeling as if your desire is already fulfilled, and you keep returning to that state, it eventually becomes your dominant emotional pattern. And once it becomes dominant, the outcome you desire becomes unavoidable. So you have to ask yourself honestly, what does it feel like to be the person you want to be? What does it feel like to be successful, peaceful, healthy, or fulfilled? Don't answer it with words, answer it with emotion. Step into that feeling and let it become familiar. There are moments in life that test this deeply. Times when things seem to go wrong, when challenges show up unexpectedly. But even in those moments, there is an opportunity to shift your perspective. You can begin to see that almost everything that happens carries some form of growth or meaning, even if it's not obvious right away. Life's struggles, whether they come in the form of loss, failure, separation, or hardship, shape you in ways that comfort never could. It's like a mountain being shaped by storms. Without the wind and pressure, you would never see its true form or beauty. In the same way, the difficulties you face are carving something deeper within you. This is why gratitude matters, not just for the good moments, but for the challenges as well. When you begin to appreciate everything, even the struggles, you start to shift your internal state. And that shift changes what you attract moving forward. Retraining your subconscious mind is not complicated, but it does require consistency. Your subconscious responds to what you repeatedly suggest to it, especially through feeling. And here's something important. It doesn't really know the difference between what you imagine and what you physically experience. If you imagine something vividly and feel it deeply, your subconscious accepts it as real. So if you spend your time feeling stressed, unhappy, or defeated, your subconscious takes that as a signal. It assumes that's what you want more of, and your life begins to reflect it. On the other hand, if you intentionally create feelings of peace, confidence, and joy within yourself, even before you see external proof, your subconscious begins to align your life with those emotions. Your body responds to what you impress upon your subconscious. That's why it's so important to become aware of what you are feeling throughout the day. Old patterns may still be there, just like habits learned long ago. But the difference is, now you have the ability to choose new ones. If you've been carrying beliefs like, I'm stuck, I'm not capable, or life is against me, and you keep feeling those ideas, they will continue to shape your reality. But if you start shifting into new feelings, consistently and intentionally, you begin to rewrite that internal script. Your feelings are not just reactions, they are creative forces. They shape the direction of your life. When you persist in a new emotional state until it becomes natural, your external world has no choice but to reflect it. And at the center of all of this is one core feeling: love. Not just love for others, but a deep, steady feeling of love within yourself and for life itself. When you operate from that place, everything changes. Love becomes the foundation of your thoughts, your actions, and your expectations. When you live from that state, you begin to feel supported, connected, and aligned. It's like stepping into a space where everything flows more easily. You're no longer forcing life, you're allowing it. So instead of waiting for something outside of you to change, begin within. Choose the feelings you want to live in. Practice them daily. Let them become familiar. And over time, you'll notice that your life begins to reflect exactly what you've been feeling all along. There's another piece of this that matters just as much as imagination and feeling, and that is attention. Where you place your attention determines how powerful your imagination becomes. Your ability to create the life you want is directly tied to what you consistently focus on. It's not just about having a desire, it's about what you give your energy and awareness to every single day. Let me explain it in a simple way. Imagine your mind works like a device that has a trash feature. Whenever something shows up that you don't want, negative thoughts, doubts, fears, limiting beliefs, you have the ability to remove it. You don't need to study it, argue with it, or give it space. You simply notice it, drop it into the trash, and let it go. Completely. That's how your attention should work. There are two ways you can use your attention. One is directed outward, and the other is directed inward. Most people live through outward focus. They look at circumstances, opinions, and what others say is possible, and they let that define their reality. But this kind of attention keeps you stuck because it makes you react to what already exists instead of creating something new. The other way is inward focus. This is where real change happens. This is when you turn your attention toward your imagination and begin to treat what you see and feel inside as more real than what's happening outside. You stop asking the world for permission, and you stop needing validation from others. Instead, you trust what you've created within. When you use your attention this way, you begin to act as if what you desire already exists. You don't wait for proof. You don't explain it to others or try to convince anyone. You simply live from that inner state. It becomes something personal, something that belongs only to you. A powerful mindset to adopt is this: don't complain and don't explain. Complaining keeps your attention stuck on what's wrong. Explaining makes you look for approval. Neither of those help you create anything new. When you've decided what you want, it's yours. You don't need to justify it or defend it. There was a lesson I learned early on that stayed with me. It was about becoming independent of other people's opinions. When you rely on others to tell you what's possible, you give away your creative power. But when you trust yourself, you take it back. Your imagination is yours, and no one else has authority over it. When your attention is focused inward, you become the source. You are the one shaping the outcome. You feel your desire as if it's already real, and you return to that feeling again and again until it becomes natural. That's what makes it powerful. But when your attention is focused outward, you become influenced by everything around you. You start to believe limitations, doubts, and fears that don't even belong to you. You begin to accept what others say as truth, even when it goes against what you truly want. So the question becomes, where are you placing your attention? One way to strengthen this is to fully commit to your intention. When you decide what you want, hold on to it firmly. Don't let it drift. Don't let outside noise weaken it. Treat it like something you've locked into place inside your imagination. Think of it like sealing your intention so tightly that nothing can pull it away. Even if people tell you it's unrealistic, too difficult, or impossible, you don't let that touch what you've created within. Your focus stays steady. Your attention remains fixed. This kind of consistency is what brings ideas into reality. It's not about forcing things to happen. It's about staying aligned with what you've already accepted as true inside yourself. Even on days when you don't feel motivated, you return to it. Even when it seems slow, you stay with it. You also protect your mind from distractions. Not everything deserves your attention. Not every opinion matters. Not every piece of information is helpful. If something doesn't support your vision, you let it go. You don't argue with it, you just release it. Your imagination is your space. It's not influenced by what the internet says, what research claims, or what other people believe is possible. It responds to what you consistently hold in your awareness. So use your attention wisely. Place it on what you want to create, not on what you fear. Stay with the feeling of your desire as if it's already real. Keep returning to it until it becomes your natural state. Because in the end, your attention is not just focus, it's direction. And wherever you direct it, your life will follow. What makes this idea even more powerful is realizing that attention is not just something you use occasionally, it's something that is always active. Even when you think you're not focusing on anything, your mind is still placing attention somewhere. And wherever it goes repeatedly, it starts to shape your internal state, and eventually, your external life. Most people don't consciously choose their attention. It gets pulled by whatever is loudest: news, social media, other people's opinions, past experiences, fears about the future. When attention is scattered like that, your imagination becomes inconsistent. One moment you're thinking about what you want, and the next moment you're reinforcing everything that contradicts it. That creates inner conflict, and that conflict slows everything down. But when you begin to guide your attention deliberately, something shifts. You start to notice your thoughts more clearly. You become aware of how often your mind drifts into doubt or worry. And instead of following those thoughts automatically, you start choosing whether to engage with them or not. That's where your control begins. It's not about forcing yourself to be positive all the time. It's about being selective. When a thought shows up that doesn't match the reality you want, you don't fight it. You simply don't invest in it. You let it pass. Over time, this becomes easier, and your mind naturally spends more time aligned with your intention. Another important part of this is repetition. Attention works like a spotlight, but repetition turns that spotlight into something permanent. The more often you return your attention to the same idea, the more familiar it becomes. Eventually, it stops feeling like something you're trying to believe and starts feeling like something that just is. This is why consistency matters more than intensity. You don't need to have one perfect, deeply emotional moment of focus.
What matters more is coming back to your intention again and again throughout your day. Small moments of alignment build up. They reinforce each other, and over time, they create a stable inner state.
There's also a subtle shift that happens when you stop reacting to your current circumstances. Instead of using your environment as proof of what's possible, you start seeing it as something temporary, something that reflects past attention, not present intention. That gives you space to create something new without feeling limited by what already exists. At first, this can feel unnatural. Your mind might keep going back to old patterns because that's what it's used to. But that's okay. The goal isn't to be perfect. It's to notice when it happens and gently bring your attention back. Every time you do that, you're strengthening a new pattern. It also helps to simplify your focus. If you try to hold too many intentions at once, your attention becomes divided. But when you choose something clear and meaningful, it's easier to return to it. It becomes something you can feel, not just think about. And that feeling is what makes it real inside you. Another thing to understand is that attention carries emotion. Whatever you focus on, you begin to feel. If your attention stays on problems, you feel stress or frustration. If it stays on your desired outcome, you start to feel calm, confident, or even excited. That emotional shift is important because it reinforces the direction your attention is going. You can also use your environment to support this process. Surround yourself with things that remind you of your intention, not in an obsessive way, but in a natural, supportive way. It could be something you see, something you read, or even a simple routine you repeat daily. These small cues help guide your attention without effort. Over time, your relationship with attention changes. It stops feeling like something you have to control and starts feeling like something you direct. You become less reactive and more intentional. And as that happens, your imagination becomes clearer, your focus becomes stronger, and your actions begin to align more naturally with what you want. Eventually, there's a sense of certainty that develops. Not because you have proof in the outside world, but because your inner state feels stable. You're no longer constantly questioning or second-guessing. You know where your attention is going, and you trust that process. And that's really the deeper point of all of this. It's not just about achieving a specific goal. It's about becoming someone who can hold a vision without being shaken by distractions, doubts, or external noise. When you reach that point, creating what you want becomes less about effort and more about alignment. Your life is not shaped by what you occasionally think, but by what you consistently feel and where you place your attention. When you stop reacting to the outside world and start mastering your inner one, everything begins to shift in your favor. The moment you assume the feeling of already being who you desire to be, you step into a new reality that must eventually unfold. Protect that vision, stay loyal to that feeling, and refuse to let doubt rewrite your inner story. Because once your inner world is aligned, your outer world has no choice but to follow.